Next up is Julie Thompson with a closer look at Plymouth.
Today we're going to be taking a closer look at the town of Plymouth and specifically the clerk's office, and we're very pleased to have the Plymouth town clerk, Kelly McElreath.
Hi, how are you? Hi, how are you?
How are you?
Happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Well, it's a busy time of year for the clerk's office.
It's 2024 is going to be a very busy year.
Yeah. So before we get into all the things you do and you're going to be doing, let's talk about you.
Okay.
Let's talk about how you got to where you are today here in Plymouth.
Here in Plymouth. So when I got out of college, I was a bank manager, and I did that for about 14, 15 years. Really enjoyed it. But I had young kids, and I decided to, I had actually got involved in my previous community of Upton on the finance committee because of banking background. And I found out my predecessor was retiring after 30 years, and I'll be honest, I didn't quite know everything that a town clerk did, but I thought that could be interesting. So I took the plunge, and I ran for election, and I won, and now we are it'll be 23 years in May that I was sworn in as a town clerk.
Wow.
So a lot of years.
A lot of years.
Yeah.
And Plymouth is quite a bit different from Upton.
Yes, Upton is a little bit smaller. So about 2 years ago, there was an opportunity here in Plymouth, unfortunately with Pearl's death, that was very tragic. But there was an opportunity to come to Plymouth, and my kids are now older, so I took that opportunity to move to Plymouth, Mass. Why not? America's hometown.
Yeah.
And I came here, and here we are.
And here we are.
Here we are.
Okay, so for the people that don't know what the clerk's office does, aside from elections, and we'll get into that a little bit more, you do the annual street listing, which was some towns call the annual census.
Correct.
But you do the annual street listing. Why is that important that people answer that?
That's important because a lot of departments, and when we apply for grants, they need to know what our population is. So we really need to know who's living in town, where they're living, how many are living here. The schools use it to help with their kindergarten involvement and pre-K. And lastly, it helps us keep our voter list up to date. If people move out of town, then we're able to remove them as a voter or make them, quote, inactive, and then keep our voter list as up to date as possible. So that's the major purpose of the annual street listing.
Do you get a good response from that when you send that out?
We do. I made some slight changes over the last couple of years, so it's now a colorful document, so I think people are more willing to look at it and see what it is and sign it. We have a lot of people that email it to us, which works out really well, so it's just a matter of keeping that up to date. And there's like 30,000 of those documents that go out every year.
30,000 households.
Yeah, give or take. Wow. So keeps us busy for the first couple months of the year.
Everything keeps you busy. You also do the boards and committees agendas in minutes that you post.
Correct. So the state has what we refer to as the open meeting law, and it requires any board or committee, such as the select board, if they're going to meet, they need to post an agenda that includes date, time, and place, as well as any agenda items that they anticipate what they're going to be discussing. That needs to be posted 48 hours, business hours in advance.
Okay.
So with the new website that the town of Plymouth introduced about a year ago now, we took that opportunity to bring it all into the clerk's office because that's really, there's just a check and balance to make sure that agendas are posted the way they need to be according to the open meeting law. And many of a lot of the boards and committees, once they have their meetings and they approve their minutes, they then send me the minutes and we post that on the website.
And the other reason, obviously, is during COVID, people had to remotely check into meetings. So if people want to know how do they remotely participate in an open meeting, it's on the agenda.
Exactly. We've been working diligently getting those Zoom links on the agenda so people can just click and even
participate.
Watch.
Easy breezy.
Yep.
You also do licenses and permits for clamming, dog licenses, business certificates, and marriage intentions.
Yes. So
wow. Clamming and marriage intentions.
Yeah, I'll admit the clamming permits, I still haven't figured out why we do that in the clerk's office, but we'll get there eventually. So if we do those on a daily basis. Dog licenses and kennel permits, we have almost, I think we have close to 10,000 dogs in Plymouth.
Wow.
So we issue a lot of tags. We're a little bit behind this year due to the primary, but we're getting there. We'll get those out. The business certificates. So if there's any business that's like a sole proprietorship, somebody doing business as, a lot of times that's referred to as DBAs. You register the name of the business with us. And lastly, the happy couples that want to get married, they have to come in and get a license. So they fill out the documentation and we issue it 3 days later.
So you do the marriage licenses, you do birth
Certificates.
death certificates.
Yep.
You don't do divorce certificates?
Nope, that's
Okay.
through the,
That's done through the courts.
courthouse.
Okay, yep, we found
There's
that
a
out.
saying, I don't want to drag this on, but there's a saying about Clerk's Worlds that we're there when you're hatched, when you have a birth certificate. We're there when you're matched, when you get married. And unfortunately, we're there when you're dispatched.
Dispatch to the next, to the next location on your journey.
Exactly.
Yes. Okay. Okay. So let's talk mostly about elections because most people think of elections when they think of the clerk's office.
Yes.
Okay. So this year, how many elections are you going to be overseeing?
Well, we've had 2 so far. We had the referendum on the NIP ban.
Yep.
And then we just had a presidential primary on March 5th.
Right.
So our next one is scheduled for May 18th.
And that's the town.
That's the local election where the select board and the school committee, planning board, redevelopment and housing will be elected.
Okay.
And town meeting members. Can't forget about them.
Right.
And
Are they elected every year, town meeting members?
There's
or
9.
they serve in different.
There's 9 members. There's 9 town meeting members per precinct, and 3 come up for election every 3
year.
years.
Okay, every 3 years. Okay.
Yeah. And the next election will be September 3rd. It's a Tuesday after Labor Day, so
Yeah.
the day after that will be the state primary.
Right. And that's who's included now is
the state primary is like our state
representatives.
state representative, state senator,
Senators.
like registrar of deeds,
Yep.
clerk of the courts.
Does the county?
I believe the county's
Yep,
on
the
there
county's
as well.
also on there?
Yeah,
Yep,
I believe so.
Yeah, because that's not a town, that's a regional.
Right,
Okay.
exactly. So whoever wants to run on the Republican side and the Democrat side, that's their names will be on the
Right.
ballot, and whoever wins the primary is the name that appears in November.
On the final ballot. So there could be 2, 3, 4 different people running on the Democratic or the Republican side for either for Senate, for
Right.
rep, and you have to whittle it down to one person for each party,
Right.
or independent or third party.
So the September primary, just if I could say this, could be almost more important than the November. I don't want to say more important, but that election to determine whose name is going to be on the ballot in November, if you have 4 people running on the Democrat side and 2 people running on the Republican side, to take those 6 candidates and whittle it down to 2.
Right.
And you can call your state rep and you can call your state senator and get some type of feedback from them.
Right.
Versus everyone thinking, most voters thinking, oh, I got to vote for the president.
Yeah.
So
It's so much more.
The
Right.
primaries are, especially in Plymouth because we have some open seats.
We have a lot.
And
Yeah.
so I think it's going to be a very active state primary when sometimes it's incumbents are running and then no one's running against
Right,
them, so
right.
they're quiet. I think this will be a quite active
Yes, very active.
primary.
Yeah, yeah. To see this interview in its entirety, please visit the Local Scenes Government Services YouTube page. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like and subscribe button before you go. We'll see you next time.